Welcome back to Automation Campaign. In episode 14 I've got quite a big overhaul to do to my car lineup with facelifts and some new models, and that overhaul is going to start with the three brand new engines. First off, our lowest end engine, the F-Series, maximum of 1.5 liter 4-cylinder, very economical. I'll take off this VVT tech since it's supposed to be pretty basic and add in some quality. 85 horsepower should be sufficient as the replacement to the other 1.5 engine because that only made 65. Now I'll make a 1 liter engine for the Riocato since the 0.8 liter 3-cylinder engine is very underpowered and starting to get outdated. This is a very nice capacity, 999cc. It would be useful for tax brackets if they're in the game, but in the next update they're gonna be. I know this campaign won't last until then, but it's nice from a lore standpoint. And 53 horsepower should be alright for this size of engine at this time. For the 2 liter engine, the G series, I'll make a 2 liter version and 1.8. This is the middle ground between the very cheap engine and the V6. Add some fuel system quality, some more here. Take off the VVT since it could be a bit too advanced for now, and bump up the compression because the prototype was using a turbo. And 130 horsepower looks sufficient because this could also be a more premium engine. Oh, the conrods are not doing well. Yeah, I will just swap everything out for light parts because that's cheaper. Looks like I found a really good size 82 by 85. I leave it like this because we like round numbers, and this will be the 1.8 liter. Maybe I can just tune it down a bit to, let's say, 115 horsepower. And last but not least, the V6 engine, the H series. I'll use the 3 liter version as the sporty engine, then make a 2.8 and 2.4. This is fairly over square, so that's why the 3 liter is only the sporty engine. Once again, no variable valve timing. I'll hold this for later on. I could go with tubular headers for this special engine. And I think this is plenty of power, 220 horsepower. And for the 1.8, I guess I'll just reduce the bore and put in a single throttle setup and normal headers, because the tubular ones take a lot more production units and you want to make a lot more of these. And 174 horsepower sounds fair enough, or I could just go for 170. Again, very nice round numbers. Oh, and it looks like I may have to use a bit more cam on this because the 4-cylinder makes 130 horsepower. And this would be up tuned to 100 and a bit, maybe closer to 180. There we go. Now that I've got a very balanced lineup of engines, it's time to do a lot of facelifting. I've done quite a fair bit of facelifting, and I'll do a brief rundown of what I did. The Koala got the new 1.5 and 1.8 engines, and the back has changed. Meanwhile, the Dolce Vita CC20 remains the same design-wise because it's still pretty modern, and the changes are, instead of the base 2.4 V6 engine, now it is a 2-liter inline 4. It actually makes more power, and for the V6 it's the 2.4, which makes 170 horsepower. For the ML platform, the Dolce Vita LB has gotten quite a bigger facelift, new front end, new rear end, new engines, and the Redeno has the new 1.8 engine and a facelifted back end. As for the SP, the Dolce Vita sports car, the backhand has been changed. The front still looks pretty modern, so I didn't do anything on it. The top model now has the 3-liter engine, and I made a cheaper discount price model with a 2.8 liter, which has less power but should bring in more sales because this car doesn't sell that well. For the Lucciola, I've changed the rear end. Instead of the 1.8 engine, it's the 1.5, and instead of the 2.4 V6, the old one, it's the new 2-liter 4-cylinder. The 1.5 is a bit less powerful than the old 1.8, but it's lighter, and on paper it's just as fast while using less fuel. And last but not least, the pickup, the U100. I've simplified the name, so it's just U100 and the engine capacity for now. I've changed up the front end. This was the V6 model, now I just put in the 2-liter 4-cylinder, and I made a super budget discount model with the 1.5, no locking differential, just rear wheel drive, standard basic truck, and of course I updated the safety and interior a bit. But I do not have a van body on this, and the Koala doesn't have a wagon either. I'll show you later what solution I have for it, but now it's time to make a brand new Riocato because the first gen is getting old. I'm gonna go with this body. Same wheelbase, but it's a bit taller. It was a trend for small cars like this to get taller, to do more with the space they had. I've made the 1-liter engine specifically for this. And for the basic model, I think I'll just not put in a radio at all. And I don't know, maybe no ABS even. I'm done with the second gen Riocato's design, and this turned out quite a lot better than I would have expected. Looks a bit generic, a bit like a Mercedes A-Class, a bit like I don't know what else. This is the mid trim. It has nice things such as painted bumpers, ABS and radio. And I've also got this super base trim, no ABS, no radio, plastic bumpers, and the sport trim is making a return. Before this we had the super turbo, now we just have the super because it uses the 1.5 version of this engine. As I've said before, I don't have a Koala wagon anymore or a van for the pickup because I've got a plan, and that plan is making a good van which can be used both for cargo and for people. I'm gonna be using this body, it's from a mod, maybe a bit too big for something like this because the other car is 2.5, 2.6 meters, but I'll make it work, make it look like something Fusco would make. So again, standard car making materials for us, steel body. I'll see if it should be galvanized, maybe, could be a good idea. And I'll go for independent suspension in the front and still going with torsion beam in the rear because it's cheap and it can carry a lot still. I don't know if I should go with a 1.5 or 1.8. For now I'll just go with a 1.5 and see if it's enough. I've managed to tweak the van in a way that's pretty desirable with the suspension and everything. The 1.5 engine is enough for a base model, and I've thrown on some power steering because it was just too heavy to not have it. For the design I went with something a bit more generic, nothing special, but it's alright because minivans are supposed to be like that. And the name I went with is Monolita. It sounds like monolith in a few languages, but it doesn't really mean anything. I called it Monolita because it's a mono volume, that's another name for van, and because it sounds a bit more like a girl's name, which I think this car is. I've already done all the engineering stuff, all the factory for all cars. And in terms of factory, I'm starting straight ahead with a medium 3. A few notable examples I have here is upgrading the Riocato factory and the old factory that made the 3-cylinder engines now makes the F series or small 4-cylinder, and I've also had to upgrade that because so many more cars use it. And I think I also had to upgrade the truck factory. Actually, it's gonna cost 2 billion. I've already got that money. And before resuming time again, I will make a bigger engine because I intend on making a luxury car or even a bigger pickup. So this time it's going to be an inline 6 because it has to be smooth. Iron block, very simple, but 4 cam. 4 valve and dual cam. And exactly 3.6 liters with this setup. And it's good to have a bit of low down torque because the V6 is focused on revs. And 27 months should be alright for this prototype. Because I keep having all these recalls and quality issues, and that's dragging down my reputation, I think I'll do some more marketing. Let me pause that. What has happened here? Oh yes, the engine factory went into renovation. Oh, and now I'm bleeding money because I don't sell my most popular car anymore, and I'm also building factories, so maybe, just maybe, I can engine in this one. That's just gonna take 1 month and will be a good buffer. And it looks like the inline 6 has completed engineering, and that's a really good part to end the episode at. Before I go, I'll just quickly test drive the new cars in beamng. For the purposes of testing the new Riocato, I'm in a city. It's a default beamng map, but let's just say it's a Gasmian city. Let's see how this fares up in a place where you need more power. Yeah, so far so good, but this is downhill, so I should try going up a hill. See how this beast with 53 horsepower does. Oh, not that great. I'm gonna have to go into first. Now, what are these guys doing? You're not supposed to drive like that. I was coming, or maybe they knew my car was super slow. I mean, in the city, this doesn't seem to lag a lot. Although you may have to rev it out, it's not as bad as the previous generation of this, because that had 30 horsepower, 35, out of a very small engine. Ooh. Now let's do a bit of sporty driving. Still a bit of understeer, but that's expected on this sort of econobox. When you let go of the throttle, the rear end is quite playful, so you can get it turned if you are just throwing it around. It's actually quite fun like this, so I imagine the version with the 1.5 engine, which has 85 horsepower, could be even better. As for the minivan, the Monolita, I'll be taking it on a bit of a road trip, some mountain roads, a bit of highway, because that's where something like this is used more. Off the line, going very nicely. Having a bigger engine really does make the difference, and it's just a 1.8. Yeah, looks like you won't have any trouble merging the road. And this actually seems to drive pretty good from what I see, even if the rear suspension is not independent and the front one is the cheap kind of independent suspension. Overtaking could be a weak spot of this because I was struggling for power there, but otherwise it doesn't understeer as much as the new Riocato. The hatchback from before, ooh, nice. On the highway here, this seems pretty capable. It has the sharp handling to deal with lane changes and let's say emergency turns, because you know on the highway people sometimes change lanes suddenly. beamng does that quite a lot, and also we're driving like this, like clogging the lanes. Will you get out, please? Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm bullying this guy. I think this drives very good for what it is. Well, almost crashed, excuse my driving. Yes, but this does punch above its weight, considering I've made it cheaper than the koala. So, but it's even bigger, so it should be heavier, but it doesn't feel like I'm compromising on anything if I were to buy this van. Thanks for tuning in, and in the next episode I'll be doing something with the inline 6 engine that I made a bit earlier.